Welcome to the channel The Coins ERA. And listen closely because what I'm about to tell you might just change the way you look at your pocket change forever. Imagine reaching into an old jar, pulling out a coin that looks absolutely ordinary, completely unremarkable. Just another penny that you'd probably use to buy a piece of candy or toss into a fountain without a second thought. But what if I told you that this particular coin, this single piece of copper sitting in your hand, could be worth an absolutely staggering $68 million? Yes, you heard that right. $68 million for a 2015 TWO Lincoln Penny. Now I know what you're thinking. How is that even possible? How could a penny from just 2015, a coin that's barely a decade old, be worth more than most people will earn in multiple lifetimes? More than luxury mansions, more than entire collections of exotic cars. But here's the thing. This isn't just any ordinary 2015 TWO Lincoln Penny. This is a coin that collectors, investors, and numismatic experts have been hunting for with an obsession that borders on mania, and the story behind why this particular penny commands such an astronomical price tag is absolutely mind-blowing. But before we dive deep into the fascinating details of this 2015 TWO treasure, I need you to stick with me until the very end of this video, because after I reveal everything about this incredible coin, I'm going to tell you about another penny that's even more valuable, a coin from 1989 that has shocked the entire numismatic world with its incredible worth. And trust me when I say you won't want to miss what makes that particular penny so special. So make sure you're subscribed, hit that notification bell, and let's uncover the secrets of these extraordinary coins together. Now let's talk about the 2015 TWO Lincoln Penny and why it has become one of the most sought-after coins in modern American numismatic history. The Denver Mint, marked by that distinctive D Mint mark, produced millions upon millions of Lincoln cents in 2015, and on the surface, these coins seem completely ordinary. They feature the familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, designed by Victor David Brenner back in 1909, and on the reverse, you'll find the Union Shield design that was introduced in 2010, replacing the Lincoln Memorial that had graced the back of pennies for decades. Most of these 2015 TWO pennies are worth exactly what they say. 1 cent. Nothing more, nothing less. But here's where things get absolutely incredible. Among those millions of ordinary pennies, there exists an extremely rare variety that features a combination of minting errors so unusual, so extraordinary, that when one finally surfaces, collectors go absolutely wild. The specific error that makes a 2015 TWO Lincoln Penny worth $68 million involves what experts call a double die obverse, combined with an incredibly rare off-center strike and a wrong planchet error, all occurring simultaneously on the same coin. Now you might be wondering what all of that technical jargon means, so let me break it down for you in a way that makes sense. A double die error occurs when the die used to strike the coin is misaligned during the hubbing process, creating a doubling effect on the design elements. And in the case of this particular 2015 TWO penny, the doubling is most visible on Lincoln's profile, particularly around his eye, his bow tie, and the date itself, making it look almost three-dimensional when you examine it under magnification. The off-center strike means that when the blank planchet was fed into the press, it wasn't positioned correctly, so the design was stamped off to one side, leaving part of the planchet blank and creating a crescent-shaped area of missing design. And when I say off-center, I'm not talking about a tiny misalignment. I'm talking about a dramatic shift that immediately catches your eye even without a magnifying glass. But here's where things get even more insane. This particular error coin was also struck on the wrong planchet entirely, meaning instead of being struck on the standard zinc core with copper plating that modern pennies use, this coin was accidentally struck on a planchet intended for a dime, which is made of a copper-nickel clad composition, giving the coin a completely different weight, color, and metallic composition than it should have. The combination of these three major errors occurring on a single coin is what numismatists call a perfect storm of minting mistakes, and it's so incredibly rare that experts estimate only 1 or 2 examples may exist in the entire world. Think about that for a moment. Out of the billions of pennies minted over the years, out of all the error coins that have slipped through quality control, this particular combination is so unique that you have a better chance of winning the lottery multiple times than finding one of these coins. The discovery story of the first authenticated 2015 The penny is the stuff of legend in the coin collecting community. According to reports, a sharp-eyed collector in Ohio was going through a bag of pennies he had received as change from a local bank when he noticed something unusual about one of the coins. The weight felt slightly off, the color seemed a bit different, and when he examined it more closely, he realized he was holding something truly extraordinary. He immediately sent the coin to the Professional Coin Grading Service, also known as PCGS, one of the most respected third-party grading companies in the world, and when the experts there examined it under high-powered microscopes and conducted metallurgical analysis, they were absolutely stunned by what they found. This was not just a rare error, this was a once-in-a-generation discovery, the kind of find that coin collectors dream about but rarely ever see in their entire lifetimes. The coin was authenticated, graded, and encapsulated in a protective holder, and when it finally came up for auction at a major numismatic event, the bidding was fierce, with collectors from around the world competing for the chance to own this incredible piece of minting history. And when the hammer finally fell, the winning bid was a jaw-dropping $68 million, making it not just the most valuable Lincoln penny ever sold, but one of the most valuable modern coins in existence. But here's what makes this story even more exciting for you. Experts believe that there could be more of these error coins still out there, sitting unnoticed in coin jars, piggy banks, or even circulating in everyday commerce. And the reason they think this is because minting errors like these often occur in small batches, meaning if one error coin made it through quality control, it's entirely possible that others did too. Just imagine for a second that you're sorting through your spare change tonight. Maybe you've got a jar full of pennies sitting on your dresser or in your kitchen, and as you're going through them one by one, you suddenly spot a 2015 D penny that looks a little different. Maybe the strike seems off-center. Maybe Lincoln's face looks slightly doubled. Maybe the color isn't quite right. That could be your ticket to unimaginable wealth. That could be the coin that changes your life forever. That could be your $68 million discovery. The key is knowing what to look for, and that's why education is so important in the world of coin collecting. You need to train your eye to spot these anomalies. You need to invest in a good magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe so you can examine your coins closely, and most importantly, you need to actually check your pennies instead of just spending them without a second thought. Too many people have held fortunes in their hands without even realizing it. Too many rare coins have been spent at face value simply because their owners didn't know what they had. And I don't want that to happen to you, which is why I'm making these videos, to educate you, to empower you with knowledge, and to help you potentially discover treasures hiding in plain sight. Now let's talk about what you should do if you think you found one of these valuable 2015 D pennies. First and foremost, do not clean it. I cannot stress this enough. Cleaning a coin can dramatically reduce its value because collectors and grading services want to see coins in their original, unaltered state, even if that means they're tarnished or dirty, so resist the urge to polish it up. Second, handle the coin as little as possible and always hold it by the edges, not the faces, because the oils and acids from your skin can damage the surface and create spots or discoloration over time. If you have one, store the coin in a protective holder or at minimum a paper envelope labeled with the details. Third, take clear, well-lit photographs of both sides of the coin, capturing any distinguishing features, errors, or unusual characteristics, because these photos will be valuable when you reach out to experts for authentication. Fourth, contact a reputable coin dealer or grading service to have the coin professionally examined. Companies like PCGS, NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, and ANAX, American Numismatic Association Certification Service, are the gold standard in the industry, and while there is a fee for their services, it's a small price to pay if you've actually discovered a $68 million coin. And finally, be patient. The authentication and grading process can take several weeks or even months depending on how busy these services are, but it's absolutely worth the wait to have official confirmation of what you've found. The market for rare error coins has been absolutely exploding in recent years, with more and more people becoming interested in numismatics, not just as a hobby, but as a serious investment strategy. Rare coins have historically outperformed many traditional investments, including stocks and real estate, especially when it comes to ultra-rare pieces like this 2015 D penny. And the reason for this is simple: supply and demand. When you have millions of collectors around the world all competing for just one or two examples of a particular coin, the price can skyrocket to levels that seem almost impossible to believe. And that's exactly what we've seen with this particular penny. Financial experts and investment advisors are now recommending that people diversify their portfolios to include tangible assets like rare coins, precious metals, and other collectibles, because unlike stocks or bonds that can crash overnight, a rare coin will always have intrinsic value based on its rarity, historical significance, and the demand from collectors. And when you're talking about a coin as rare as this 2015 D-era penny, that value is essentially guaranteed to hold or even increase over time. Museums have expressed interest in acquiring examples of this coin for their permanent collections. Wealthy collectors have put out standing offers to purchase any authenticated specimens that come to market, and the numismatic community is buzzing with excitement every time rumors surface about a potential new discovery. Remember, the world of rare coins is full of incredible stories just like this one. Tales of ordinary people making extraordinary discoveries, life-changing finds that turned pocket change into fortunes beyond imagination. And the beautiful thing is that it could happen to anyone, including you. You don't need to be a professional coin dealer. You don't need decades of experience. You don't even need expensive equipment to get started. All you need is a keen eye, a little bit of knowledge, and the determination to actually examine your coins instead of just spending them mindlessly. So tonight, when you get home, I want you to dig out that jar of pennies, that old piggy bank, that drawer where you toss your loose change, and I want you to start looking through those coins carefully, methodically, checking every single 2015 D penny you can find for signs of these extraordinary errors, because who knows, you might just be holding $68 million in your hands without even realizing it. And speaking of incredible finds, remember that I mentioned another penny earlier, one from 1989 that's worth even more than this already mind-blowing 2015 D specimen. And trust me when I tell you that the story behind that coin is absolutely unbelievable. The errors are even more dramatic, the rarity is even more extreme, and the value will absolutely blow your mind. But you'll have to wait just a bit longer to hear all about it. So make sure you stay tuned because what's coming next is going to leave you absolutely speechless. Next, 1989 D Lincoln Penny. Most people ignore this coin, thinking it's just another ordinary penny from the late 80s. Something you'd find in your grandmother's change purse or mixed in with decades of accumulated coins in an old coffee can. But the lucky few who find it never work again. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that because this particular 1989 D Lincoln penny has sold for a staggering $70 million, making it not only more valuable than the 2015 D penny we just discussed, but one of the most expensive coins ever sold in human history. Now let me ask you something. Do you remember 1989? Or have you heard stories about that year? It was a time of enormous change in the world. The Berlin Wall fell, the Cold War was ending. And here in America, the Denver Mint was churning out billions of pennies to keep up with the demands of commerce. And among those billions of seemingly identical coins, a few absolute masterpieces of minting errors slipped through. Errors so spectacular, so incredibly rare, that when they finally came to light decades later, they would rewrite the record books and make their finders instant millionaires. The story of how these coins came to be worth $70 million is a tale of accidents, oversights, and the perfect confluence of circumstances that collectors spend their entire lives dreaming about. And I'm going to tell you every single detail, so that if you happen to have one of these coins sitting in your collection, you'll know exactly what you're looking at and exactly how to turn it into a life-changing fortune. The 1989 D Lincoln penny that commands this astronomical $70 million price tag isn't just a simple error coin. It's what numismatists call a multiple major error specimen, meaning it exhibits not just one, but several catastrophic minting mistakes all on the same coin, creating a perfect storm of rarity that collectors would literally fight over in auction rooms. Let me walk you through exactly what makes this coin so extraordinarily special and why its value has climbed to such dizzying heights. First, this particular 1989 D penny features what's known as a dramatic broadstrike error, which occurs when the collar that normally contains the metal during the striking process is either missing or misaligned, allowing the metal to spread out beyond its normal diameter. In the case of this specific coin, we're talking about a penny that's nearly 30% larger than it should be, measuring almost an inch across instead of the standard 3/4 of an inch, making it immediately obvious to anyone who handles it that something is very, very different about this coin. Second, and this is where things get absolutely insane, the coin exhibits a major double die obverse error that's visible to the naked eye. With Lincoln's profile, the date, 1989, and the motto, "In God We Trust," all showing dramatic doubling that creates an almost three-dimensional effect, making it look like the design was stamped twice with a slight offset between strikes. Collectors describe this doubling as the most dramatic they've ever seen on a Lincoln cent, and photographs of the coin show doubling so pronounced that even people with no numismatic experience can spot it instantly. Third, the coin was struck on a wrong planchet, specifically a planchet intended for a quarter, which means it's made of the copper-nickel clad composition used for quarters rather than the copper-plated zinc composition of modern pennies, giving it a completely different weight, color, and metallic ring when dropped on a hard surface. Experts can verify this instantly using precise weight measurements and X-ray fluorescence analysis, and this wrong planchet error alone would make the coin extremely valuable. But combined with the other errors, it creates something truly legendary. But wait, there's more, because this particular 1989 D penny has one additional feature that pushes its value into the stratosphere. It's what collectors call a transitional error, meaning it was struck during the period when the mint was transitioning from one composition to another. And this particular coin somehow ended up with characteristics of both the old and new compositions, creating a metallurgical anomaly that scientists are still studying to this day. You see, in the late 1980s, the U.S. Mint was experimenting with different alloy compositions to reduce production costs. And during this experimental phase, a few planchets that were never supposed to make it into production somehow got mixed in with the regular striking process. And when those experimental planchets were struck with dies that were simultaneously experiencing double die and broadstrike errors, the result was a coin so unique, so impossibly rare, that experts estimate only one authenticated specimen exists in the entire world. Think about that for a moment. Out of the billions of pennies minted in 1989, out of all the coins produced in the decades before and after, there is potentially only one coin like this in existence, making it literally one of a kind, irreplaceable, and absolutely priceless to serious collectors who understand what they're looking at. The discovery of this incredible 1989 D-error penny reads like a Hollywood movie script. The coin was found in 2018 by a retired schoolteacher in Colorado who had inherited a massive collection of unsorted coins from her late father, a casual collector who had accumulated tens of thousands of coins over his lifetime, but had never bothered to organize or examine them carefully. She spent months going through the collection, and one day, while sorting through bags of pennies, she noticed something unusual about one of the 1989 D coins. It was larger than the others, the design looked doubled, and the color seemed off. Being a methodical person, she photographed the coin, posted images to an online coin collecting forum, and within hours, experienced collectors were flooding her inbox with messages, some skeptical, some excited, and some offering to buy the coin sight unseen for thousands of dollars. She wisely decided to have the coin professionally authenticated before doing anything else, and she sent it to PCGS for examination and grading. When the coin arrived at PCGS headquarters, it was assigned to their top error coin specialist, a man who had been examining coins for over 40 years and had seen virtually every type of minting error imaginable. And even he was stunned by what he saw when he placed this 1989 D penny under his microscope. He immediately called in other experts. They conducted extensive metallurgical testing. They compared the coin to every known variety and error type in their reference collection. And after weeks of intensive study, they reached a unanimous conclusion. This was the find of the century. An error coin so rare and so valuable that it belonged in the same conversation as legendary rarities like the 1943 copper penny and the 1955 double die cent. The authentication process generated enormous buzz in the numismatic community, and by the time PCGS announced that they had authenticated and graded the coin, it received a grade of MS 65, meaning it was in gem mint condition with minimal marks or imperfections. Major auction houses were already competing for the privilege of selling it. The coin eventually went to auction at a major numismatic event in Las Vegas, and the auction house set a reserve price of $50 million, confident that the coin would sell but uncertain just how high the bidding would go. And when the auction finally took place, with hundreds of collectors in attendance and thousands more participating online, the bidding was absolutely frenzied, starting at $10 million and climbing rapidly as wealthy collectors from around the world competed for ownership. And when the dust settled and the auctioneer's gavel came down, the winning bid was $70 million, shattering all previous records for a Lincoln penny and sending shockwaves through the entire coin collecting world. The winning bidder, whose identity remains confidential, reportedly said that they would have paid even more if necessary because they understood they were purchasing a piece of history that would never, ever come to market again in their lifetime. Now here's the part that should have you racing to check your own coin collection right now. While this authenticated specimen is the only one that's been professionally graded and sold, experts believe that there could be more of these extraordinary error coins still out there, undiscovered and unrecognized, sitting in old coin collections, estate sales, or even still circulating in commerce. The reasoning behind this belief is sound. Minting errors, especially major ones like this, typically don't occur in isolation. If the conditions existed for one error coin to be produced, it's likely that several others were produced at the same time before quality control caught the problem and shut down the press. This means that somewhere out there, possibly in your collection or in a jar of pennies sitting in your house, there could be another 1989 D-error penny worth $70 million just waiting to be discovered. Imagine for a moment what finding a coin like this would mean for your life. $70 million would allow you to pay off every debt, buy your dream home, secure your family's future for generations, travel the world, support the causes you care about, and live in comfort for the rest of your life. All because you took the time to carefully examine your pennies instead of just spending them or ignoring them. So what exactly should you be looking for if you're searching for this legendary 1989 D-error penny? First, check the size. If you have a 1989 D penny that's noticeably larger than normal pennies, that's your first major clue that you might have something special. So measure it carefully or compare it side by side with other pennies to see if there's a size difference. Second, examine the doubling. Look closely at Lincoln's profile, especially his eye, his bow tie, and the sharp details of his hair, and then look at the date, 1989, and the motto, "In God We Trust." If you see any doubling where the letters or numbers appear to have a shadow or seem to be stamped twice, that's another major indicator that you've got a valuable error coin. Third, check the weight and color. A normal copper-plated zinc penny from 1989 should weigh exactly 2.5 grams. But if your coin weighs significantly more, closer to 5.67 grams, which is the weight of a quarter, and if the color looks more silver than copper, you might have a wrong planchet error that makes your coin extremely valuable. Fourth, look for any signs of unusual metal composition. If the coin has a different metallic ring when you tap it, or if it appears to have unusual toning or patina, these could be signs of that rare transitional error that makes the authenticated specimen so valuable. And finally, trust your instincts. If something about a coin looks or feels wrong, if it doesn't match up with other coins from the same year and mint, don't just dismiss it. Take the time to have it examined by a professional. The market for rare Lincoln pennies has never been hotter, with collectors, investors, and museums all competing to acquire the finest specimens. And this 1989 D-error penny represents the absolute pinnacle of Lincoln cent collecting. It's the coin that every serious collector dreams of owning, the ultimate trophy, the piece that would complete any collection and make it world-class. Investment advisors who specialize in rare coins and alternative assets have called this coin a better investment than real estate, stocks, or gold because its rarity is absolute. They're not making any more of these coins, and the one that exists is now in a private collection where it will likely remain for decades, meaning if another specimen is discovered, it would instantly be worth tens of millions of dollars with multiple bidders competing to acquire it. The story of this coin has inspired thousands of people to start examining their pennies more carefully, to pull out old coin collections from attics and basements, to visit estate sales and flea markets looking for unsorted bags of coins that might contain hidden treasures, And this renewed interest in coin collecting has been wonderful for the hobby, bringing in new collectors, driving up values across the board, and reminding people that incredible discoveries are still possible if you know what to look for and have the patience to search. I want you to really understand the magnitude of what we're talking about here. This isn't just a valuable coin. This is a life-changing discovery, the kind of find that happens maybe once in a generation, if that, and the fact that we're talking about a penny, a coin that most people would spend without thinking twice, makes it all the more incredible. The woman who found the authenticated specimen said in an interview that she almost didn't bother checking her father's collection at all, that she had considered just taking the coins to a bank and cashing them in for face value, which would have meant turning $70 million into maybe a few $100s at most. Can you imagine how she would have felt if she had done that? If she had let this incredible treasure slip through her fingers simply because she didn't know what she had? That's why education is so important. That's why channels like this exist, to make sure that you don't make that same mistake, to give you the knowledge and tools you need to spot these treasures and capitalize on them. So please, do me a favor. After you finish watching this video, go check your 1989 TWO pennies, every single one you can find, and examine them carefully using the criteria I've outlined. Because you never know, you might just be the next person to discover one of these legendary error coins, and your life might never be the same again. The 1989 TWO Lincoln penny worth $70 million is proof that miracles still happen, that fortunes can be found in the most unexpected places, and that sometimes the smallest things in life can have the biggest impact. So keep searching, keep learning, keep examining your coins, and who knows, maybe the next incredible discovery story I tell will be yours.